Turning the closed sign over on the door, she locked up and went into the kitchen, making extra throughout the day so they would have enough for those held up at the GPO. It was Easter week and the rising was strong. Her and her daughter packed up and exited through the back. Walking at pace through the alleys and narrow streets, the women kept their composure. Although they didn't take up arms, they were very much involved in the rising. I found their member of Cumann na Man and a member of Cumann na Teachtair, a women's group within Sinn Fein. She was all too aware what was at stake. Reaching the GPO, the women dropped off the supplies and headed home. When she got home, she found her home was engulfed in flames, set alight during the conflict. This loss wouldn't slow her down. It would inspire her to do more, give more, be a part of more. This was Jennie Wyse Power, and this is the good, the bad, and the pure evil. Born Jane O'Toole in Battleglass, County Wicklow, 1858, daughter of Edward O'Toole and Mary Norton. The family had a business, but in 1860 they sold it and moved to Dublin. She grew up in a strong nationalist family who gave a safe haven to many Fenians. By the time she reached 20, both her parents sadly died from an illness. 1881 she began an interest in politics and joined the Ladies' Land League in the same year. The Ladies' Land League was a side group of the Irish National Land League, and it would take over when its leadership was imprisoned. Jennie would become friendly with Anna Parnell, sister of the Nationalist Member of Parliament and leader of the House Rule Party, Charles Stewart Parnell, who Jennie admired greatly. While in the Ladies' Land League, Jennie met her husband, Jennie Wyse Power, who was at the time editor of the Leinster Leader newspaper and a member of the Irish Republic Brotherhood. John was also one of the founder members of the Gaelic Athletic Association, or GAA. The pair would marry July 5, 1883, and would at first live in Naas, County Kildare. In 1885, the family moved to Dublin, as John would get a job with the National Freeman's Journal. They would have 4 children: Catherine, who sadly died in infancy, Moira, Anne, who they nicknamed Nancy, and Charles, who came 6 months after the death of Parnell, so he would be named after him in his honour. Charles Stewart Wyse Power was his full name. That same year, 1892, Jennie published Words of the Dead Chief. The introduction would be done by Anna Parnell, and the book contained selections of extracts from Parnell's speeches. James Joyce would write the famous Ulysses. The Wyse Powers would be in it, but James would name them Wyse Nolans. Charles Stewart Parnell would have a fall from grace and died of pneumonia October 6, 1891. After this, Jennie and her husband were upset from it all and stayed out of politics for a while. Jennie remained somewhat active in the Dublin Women's Suffrage Association. In 1889, the family moved to the city centre. Jennie set up a business at 21 Henry Street, which she called the Irish Farm Produce Company. Here she sold eggs, butter, cream, honey, confectionery, all of which was Irish produce. The business also had a restaurant with tea rooms and lunch rooms. 1900, Jennie was elected as one of 4 vice presidents of Inagh na hÉireann. 1903, she was Poor Law Guardian of North Dublin, which she held until 1911, when she lost her seat. During her time as Poor Law Guardian, she spoke out against housing and public health conditions. Her restaurant was popular among many nationalists, the Gaelic League and founders of Sinn Fein. Sinn Fein would also have meetings here and included Jennie as a resident member of the executive. Arthur Griffith, an Irish writer, newspaper editor and politician who founded the Sinn Féin party, would call women passive, resistance, boycotting and non-violent agitation. But Sinn Féin as a whole would prove an exception to this idea. 1908, Jennie expanded her business with premises at 21 Lower Camden Street. Again, it would be all Irish produce. By 1912, Wyse Power was Vice President of Sinn Fein. On April 5, 1914, Jennie became a founder member of Cumann na and was active in the Central Branch. Cumann na would stand for the League of Women. October 31st, 1914, she would be elected the first president of Cumann na. At her home in Henry Street, the signing of the proclamation of the Irish Republic would be done. This house would be destroyed in a fire during the Easter Rising. In this fire, the Ladies' Land League records would also be destroyed, as Jennie would hold custody of them. When the Rising ended, Jennie and her daughter Nancy would help to reorganise Cumann na. They also helped to get funds to families hit hard by the Rising. These funds came from Clan na Gael in the US. After this time, she lost her president role of Cumann na to Countess Markievicz, who was in prison at the time. Jennie would move on to join the Irish Women's Franchise League. From the Rising, Sinn Fein military section grew fast to 600 branches, recruiting both men and women. Jennie was one of the main people involved actively preparing female recruits. Jennie would not stand in the 1918 election, but she, along with other Cumann na members, did help campaign for Markievicz to be Sinn Fein candidate in Dublin. 1919, she became treasurer of Sinn Fein. She was the one of 5 women members elected to Dublin Corporation in 1920. But she faced difficulty taking her seat when a clerk would refuse her at first to let her sign her name in Irish. A room at her restaurant at Henry Street in 1919 would be used as the headquarters for the Irish Volunteers. When Crellsgrove was arrested in June 1920, Jennie was one of the new Dáil commissions. Her position was to overcome financial difficulties within the local government. Michael Collins chose Jennie to use her extensive spy networks in Ireland and even abroad. Nearing the end of 1921, Jennie was convinced if she supported the treaty, she'd have to leave Cumann to form a new organisation. Jennie supported Parnell's want to achieve Home Rule, and she supported the 1912 Home Rule Bill. With this, it was a natural progression for her to support the Anglo-Irish Treaty, but she was only among a few nationalist women to give such support. Jennie, along with pro-treaty women, created Cumann na Saoirse, the League of Freedom, and this replaced Cumann na in March 1922. December 1922, President of the Executive Council, W.T. Cosgrove, appointed Jennie to the Irish Free State Seanad Éireann as Cumann na Needhill member. Jennie would be one of 5 women elected to the first Seanad in 1922. The other women included Alice Stopford Green, Ellen Cuff, Countess of Dessart, and finally Eileen Costello. In the Irish Civil War, property of Free State senators would be regularly attacked by those opposing the treaty. December 10, 1922, Jennie's Camden Street premises would be bombed, causing a lot of damage. Jennie would point a finger at Mary McSweeney for this. Also in 1922, Jennie and Maurice Moore, an Irish author, soldier and politician, would oppose Lord Glenavy as Cancola, mainly because he was a unionist. Jennie served as Cumann na Nearthe, Ard Cola, but in the Seanad she became more and more upset with the government policy, especially after the fiasco of the Boundary Commission. December 1st, 1925 would be the day of her last meeting of Cumann na Nearthe. After this, she would sit as an independent senator. Fianna Fáil would enter both the Dáil and Seanad. Jennie found herself voting with his party a lot. In 1934, Sean T. O'Kelly, a close friend to Jennie, would move Nancy, Jennie's daughter, from the Department of Industry and Commerce to the Department of Local Government to act as his private secretary. It's believed that O'Kelly was the one who convinced Jennie to join Fianna Fáil in 1934. She also stood for the party the same year in the Seanad election, where she was re-elected for 9 years, serving until the Seanad was abolished in 1936. Jennie would oppose conditions of employment bill, mainly because she felt it was discriminating against women. January 5, 1941, Jennie Wyse Power died at age 82. Her funeral will be attended by many, including those from the Dáil and the former revolutionary movement. This energetic girl from Baltinaglass became known for her capability and influence of her generation. She was front and centre during the 40 of the most up and down years in Irish history. Her big public career was even more impressive as she had a busy family life and her own business. She was outspoken, independent, who did not shy away from making tough decisions. Historian Anne Matthews would describe her perfectly as one of the most formidable and underestimated women in the nationalist history. Thank you all for listening. Next time I'll be looking at the Air Florida Flight 90, which crashed into the 14th Street Bridge over the Potomac River, with 74 plus 5 crew members on board. Only 4 passengers and 1 crew survived. Until then, this was the good, the bad, and the pure evil.